Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to this afternoon's webinar. What we're going to be discussing today is human trafficking awareness, how we can, as housing professionals, identify signs of human trafficking in multifamily housing. So I thank you, everybody, for your time today. Hopefully this brief webinar will get you some grassroots information in regards to this topic. So without further ado, we'll get started. So as you all know, HII Group is a family of companies founded by and dedicated to serving housing. So in saying that, as you all know, we offer insurance, research, advocacy, and training to meet the needs of over 1,400 housing organizations and more than 12,000 housing professionals across the nation. So we appreciate everybody and all of our members, and we're happy to provide information like this in webinars like this to provide you all with some information. So a little bit of background about myself. My name is Nick Mayo. I am a senior risk control consultant with HII Group. My phone number at HII, along with my extension, is on the screen here. My email address is on the screen as well. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to email me, call me. You can contact me, and I will get you any resources or information that I have in regards to this topic or any other risk management related topic. So as a reminder, we do want your feedback. Your feedback is extremely important to us. So there's two ways to provide feedback. So that is through the QR code, which you can see on the screen, or there is a course survey link. So at the end of this training session, this slide will come up again. So you can either scan the QR code or you can access the survey link. After this presentation, there will be a follow-up email where we'll send information and literature in regards to this topic, along with the QR code and course survey link again. So we do want your feedback. We appreciate your feedback, positives, negatives, areas that we can improve, or more information that you need. Please fill out that survey so we can better meet your needs. So to get us started, we are going to talk about, obviously we're talking about human trafficking today. The definition and data that is collected in regards to human trafficking is going to be the start of the presentation. So as it says here on the screen, human trafficking can happen in any community and affect individuals of any age, race, gender, or nationality. So I want to give a little bit of a brief background in regards to how the idea of this topic came about, that we want to deliver a webinar series. So outside of my employment, with HII Group, I am a career fireman with the City of Middletown, Connecticut Fire Department. Working in public safety, we get training in regards to topics like this on a regular basis. And when I was sitting in our last training that we was delivered from a representative from the state of Connecticut, I thought that it would be extremely relevant to pass along some of this information to you all as housing professionals. In the fire service, we receive training usually in 3 levels, being an awareness level, and then it proceeds to operations, and then the most advanced is technician level training. So I would consider this as an awareness level training for you all. This is the definitions, the data, the introductory information, and then hopefully in the future, we can follow up as a risk department and deliver more depth information and more in-depth training for you all, whether it's through one of our collaborative sessions, our risk management symposium, or maybe at a NARO event or things like that. It's an extremely important topic. It's a heavy topic. It's an unfortunate thing that does happen in the world that we live in today. But working in housing, I thought it was extremely relevant for individuals like yourself to have this introductory information. Myself as a first responder, I could be responding to public housing community within the community that I work in. Along with that, as a property manager, like some of you are, you are the ones interacting with the people within your housing authority. So it's kind of in that same boat. So that's how this came about. And hopefully today I can provide some introductory information for all of you. So to start off, we are going to talk about just some brief definitions and data behind human trafficking. So human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery in which traffickers use force, fraud, or coercion to control victims to engage in commercial sex acts or labor services against their will. According to the U.S. Department of State, human trafficking, trafficking in persons, and modern slavery are umbrella terms often used interchangeably. Now, when we look at national data, this indicates that the following are at a higher risk for victimization in human trafficking. So those categories include females, children involved in child welfare, children from low-income communities, homeless youth, along with LGBTQI youth. So those different classes is involved in that data. So that is why this information has been collected. And again, from the U.S. Department of State, different types of trafficking and modern-day slavery are umbrella terms that, again, are often used interchangeably. So looking at this map, human trafficking isn't confined to any one part of the country. It is widespread, as illustrated by the heat map on the screen here, showing incidents of human trafficking reported to the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline in 2020. So as you can see on the heat map, unfortunately for us on the East Coast, it seems to be the hotbed of where all of this is occurring, but it's not just unique to the East Coast. As you can see, different areas of the southern part of the United States, the Midwest, and along with the West Coast. Along with this, another unsettling piece of data is that just under 74,000 human trafficking cases have been reported to this hotline since 2007. So in the last just under 20 years, 74,000 human trafficking cases have been reported to that hotline. So looking at more data in regards to trafficking situations and victims identified, this data was collected in 2020. So different situations of trafficking identified was just over 10,000 incidents. Over 7,000 included sex. Over 1,000 were in regards to labor. Sex and labor combined were just over 300, and other not specified were just over 1,500. Victims of trafficking identified on the right-hand side of the screen, over 16,000 victims in 2020 alone. 10,000 of them were sex victims, 3,500 labor. Sex and labor combined was just over 600, or other not specified is just over 1,600. So again, these are trafficking situations and victims identified from national data in 2020 alone. So correlating with that data, the top 5 risk factors and vulnerabilities. So when we look at the category of sex trafficking, we're looking at different instances of substance abuse, runaway or homeless youths, unstable housing, various mental health concerns, along with the recent migration or relocation of a family or an individual. Other risk factors or vulnerabilities for labor trafficking. So again, the same category of recent migration or relocation, self-reported economic hardship, unstable housing, criminal record or criminal history, along with substance abuse concerns. So between the two, being sex trafficking and labor trafficking, we can see some similarities. And again, I will dive deeper into the definitions between the two later on in the presentation. But some of the top 5 risk factors and vulnerabilities, again, are listed here on the screen. So I think it's important to make note that these are where the vulnerabilities exist, and this is how some of this comes about. So a study that was conducted by Polaris, which is the company that administers the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline, found that victims usually know and trust their traffickers. So this is an important slide because this slide, it really hits home. Where in 2020, of the 16,658 human trafficking victims identified by the hotline, just over 4,000 were known to be recruited by a family member or a caregiver. So one piece of data that I do want to share is this trend was particularly noteworthy in sex trafficking situations. Of the 2,448 victims recruited into sex trafficking in 2020, 42% were brought in by a family member, while 39% were recruited by an intimate partner or a marriage proposition. So in that first bullet point here, talking about this unfortunate topic. Again, Polaris is the company that administers the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline, and they found that victims usually know and trust their traffickers. So I think it's important to note that. So what is being done to combat trafficking? Federal and state authorities use three-element framework to define and investigate potential cases of human trafficking. So in the following slides, we're going to identify what's being done by state and local resources, along with what can be done by you all as housing professionals, or, from my perspective as a first responder, what can we do to combat, this issue that we have in the world that we live in today. So what is being done? According to the FBI, the Trafficking Victims Protections Act, so abbreviated online and in literature, it's the TVPA. This was signed into law in 2000, and it was the first comprehensive federal law to address human trafficking. As of 2014, all 50 states and the District of Columbia have laws against human trafficking. So that's very important. Each state does have different state allocated resources to this topic. In Connecticut, the information that we get is through the DCF and other state agencies. So each state, may have different representatives. You just have to look up the information for your particular state. So authorities investigate two types of human trafficking. So we've already seen these terms, but I want to dive into a little bit deeper of the definitions of the two. So between sex trafficking and labor trafficking. So if to define sex trafficking, we're talking about when individuals are compelled by force, fraud, or coercion to engage in commercial sex acts. When we talk about sex trafficking of a minor, this occurs when the victim is under the age of 18 years old. For cases involving minors, force, fraud, and coercion is not necessary. Sex trafficking has been found in a wide variety of venues within the sex industry. This includes residential brothels, escort services, various types of businesses, strip clubs, street prostitution, and things like that. When we discuss labor trafficking, these individuals are compelled by force, threats, or fraud to perform labor or a service. Some types of domestic servitude, which is a form of forced labor, is when individuals within a household, they can appear to be a nanny or a housekeeper or other types of domestic workers, but they are being controlled or exploited. So labor trafficking has been found in diverse labor settings, including domestic work, small businesses, large farms, factories, large businesses. So it can, unfortunately, it is found everywhere. If we look at the two terms, the introductory definitions that I gave, the comparables are when individuals are compelled by force, threats, or fraud. So unfortunately, these people are being brought into a situation where they're either being forced or threatened, or they're led to believe something that's not true. So looking at the information in the prior slides, if someone's in a hard situation, a harsh situation, or in a bad way, That's unfortunately how sometimes people go down the road of one of these two categories of human trafficking. So what is being done? Federal and state law enforcement officials use a 3-element framework to help define and investigate human trafficking. Severe cases that are considered forms of trafficking in persons involve 3 elements. So these 3 elements is the actions, means, purpose model. So you can see a lot of information about this online, where the acts is the actual recruiting, harboring, transporting, providing, or obtaining an individual. Means is the use of force, fraud, or coercion. And purpose is the goal of exploiting an individual for forced labor or commercial sex acts. So this 3-element framework is in a lot of literature about human trafficking, and you're always going to see this acts, means, purpose model. In reading some of the literature, the FBI says the most effective way to investigate human trafficking is through collaboration, multi-agency approach with federal, state, local, and tribal partners. So getting grassroots information out, obtaining further information and training, knowing your local resources, whether they're state or federal, and reporting all this information to a hotline, that's when the process gets started. So in reality, it's starting with the training and the education that you're receiving here today. So federal and state authorities investigate human trafficking through collaborative interagency task forces. So you're going to see that word task force in a lot of the literature that you could read about human trafficking. These task forces are designed to combat and respond to regionally based human trafficking. So as a recent example, in early August, as part of a nationwide operation, the FBI arrested 85 human trafficking suspects, located 37 missing children, and identified 141 adult victims of human trafficking. I do want to say here, investigations often begin after authorities receive tips from the public, including the reports to the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline. According to the FBI, victim recovery is their #1 priority. So when they get a tip or some information and they start their investigation, the recovery of that victim is the priority, and getting them safe and secure. And then after that, it's the pursuit of the actual traffickers themselves. So the victims obviously are the ones that the FBI focus on first, and then in correlation with that, hopefully trying to get the bad guys, so to speak, and prevent it from happening again. So how can we as housing professionals identify signs of trafficking? No matter your role at your housing organization, you do play an essential part in identifying potential cases of human trafficking. It doesn't matter if you work in maintenance, if you work in administration, if you work in property management, asset management. If your boots are on the ground within your housing authority, you know your properties, you know what looks normal, you know what looks out of place. So identifying the signs of trafficking, which we're going to discuss in the next couple slides, is extremely important knowledge to have. And it's like every campaign that we've seen. And if you see something, say something. We can always refer things to the proper authorities. We can always refer things to subject matter experts and professionals in the field. So I think it's extremely important to know different signs of trafficking. So knowing the signs of sex or labor trafficking is a key factor in reporting potential threats. Individuals facing poverty or economic need, or whom are potentially in an unstable living situation, can lead to unsettling circumstances, as I alluded to before. Knowing the appropriate laws and having a plan to refer investigations to local authorities are essential components of the risk management process to identify human trafficking within or around your properties. So saying that, one of the first things that I would recommend doing, after receiving some information like the training today or doing further research, is contacting your local law enforcement to see if they have a hotline or see if they have a tip line. And then from there, looking at your state resources and having that information on file and distributing it to your employees. So knowing your laws and having a plan and just even knowing the number to call is a great first step. One point that I did want to make, unit inspections and resident interactions are prime examples of times to remain vigilant as a property owner or a property manager or an employee of your organization. So resident recertification, onboarding, different instances of resident interaction, even a maintenance work order. If an individual is lacking official documentation, this can be a clue that a problem may exist. Visual clues such as individuals showing signs of physical injuries or abuse, lacking personal possessions, appearing destitute, these all can be indicators that there may be a problem. Now, it's not to say that people that don't have a lot of personal possessions could be in this category, but it just could lead to further conversations or reach out to a professional to figure out if there is a problem that does exist. So the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development has outlined several red flags for human trafficking in housing. So you can see this document up on the screen. It's available online, and it will be sent out in the follow-up email after this webinar. So potential red flags that HUD put out, or inadequate or inappropriate clothing for a situation or potential meeting. The presence of hotel business cards, escort service business cards, hotel key cards, and excess amounts of cash, condoms, or cell phones. Signs of poor hygiene or malnourishment. The presence of knives or other weapons. Other red flags that HUD put out is if an individual has numerous inconsistencies in their story, or if they are reluctant to explain tattoos or branding that they may have that is visible to you when you're talking to them. If that individual is not in control of their identification documents, such as their ID or their passport, and they don't know where they kept it, or potentially that they lost it, this could be a clue that there could be something wrong. If an individual claims to be visiting and cannot clarify where they are staying or their address, or if they appear to have bruises, scars, or infections due to improper medical care, these are all things that it could lead down the road that there is a human trafficking issue. If not, what we can do is obviously try to get the individual as much help as we can with the different resources that we have. So this document that came out from HUD is a great red flag document to have, and even to post it throughout your properties in regards to if you have a community bulletin board and things like that. Not only is educating our staff essential, but educating our residents, because most of the time the residents have the most eyes on our housing sites, as we know. So the more information that we can get out, more different signs and red flags that are known, then again, we can refer them to proper authority and just try to see what resources are out there to get that individual help. So how can you report trafficking as an organization? So the information that's up on the screen is the information for the U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline. So the website is www.humantraffickinghotline.org. The number is on the screen, 888-373-7888, and you can access that number. Someone will answer 24/7, 365. The email address, help@humantraffickinghotline.org, or even a text such as info or help to be free, which is 233-733. This is all different areas that you can access that U.S. National Human Trafficking Hotline. As we all know, if someone is in immediate danger, emergency services calling 911 even to get your local police department there. They know when a situation is maybe beyond their authority or beyond their capability, they would bring in other state, municipal, federal resources. So if someone is in immediate danger and we're interacting with them, then obviously we want to call 911 and get emergency services there immediately. Also here on the bottom bullet point, you can visit the polarisproject.org, and you will be able to consult your state statutes for more information, as state and local laws may differ by jurisdiction. So again, since 2014, all 50 states have had laws come out in regards to human trafficking, and you'll find a lot of similarities, but there may be differences by jurisdiction. So that polarisproject.org website will show you the different areas in each state, local laws, and information for your particular state that you may live in or work in. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. What we will do, and again, there's the option for a chat function in this, or you can ask a question. One important note that I did want to make was if questions come about in regards to this topic, where we as risk control professionals, if we can't give you 100% correct information, we will always defer and refer to professionals, especially with this, a topic like this. So any questions that come our way, we can serve as the middleman, provide information, or refer you to call a higher power or someone who's a subject matter expert. So again, the goal today was to provide a quick awareness level training on what are the definitions, what is the data surrounding it, where is it happening, and what can we do, as in what are some red flags. Later on, as a risk department, we are hoping to deliver a more in-depth training by bringing in the subject matter expert. So again, that will come via the avenue of potentially another webinar or a collaborative, or maybe within our risk control symposium that we have in the fall. So we hope to do to get more information out on this topic, but we wanted to start today with just the baseline introductory stuff. We will follow up with an email that has all this information, resources, handouts, and how you can collaborate with your state and local authorities. So I do appreciate your time. I appreciate everyone's effort and collaboration in getting this information out to the people within your organization. So again, as a reminder, we do want your feedback and we appreciate it. There are two ways to give us feedback about trainings like this and webinars like this. QR code on the screen, which you can scan with your device, or you can copy and paste the survey link and give us feedback. So if this is a topic that you feel like more information would be beneficial, provide that to us and we will get more information. So I thank you everybody for your time, and I think Mary was going to jump on if we had any questions, but if there aren't any questions, thank you all very much.
Not seeing any questions, Nick.
Okay. So again, anybody can follow up via my phone or email address. Please provide feedback if you have it. Other than that, thank you very much for your time and have a great day. Thanks again.